calling, basically pushing for the removal of the Shah. You contrast now that with the president's position, where he has been very reticent to move forward. That was an oddity, I think. But I think the bottom line is the international community clearly now is coming together and speaking out, and one of the things the Iranian people have been asking for is for support worldwide from the international community. I think that's now forthcoming. The president was forthcoming today.
Robin, Representative Royce reminds us of what happened under Jimmy Carter's rule, which in fact ushered in the Islamic Republic. There is obviously a dilemma, and that is standing up for human rights and people's freedom fights and trying not to meddle in other governments' internal affairs. From the best of your knowledge, what are Iranians saying about that?
I think the Iranians have sent the United States many messages over the years, as you know better than anyone, that because of our intervention in 1953 in ousting a democratically elected government and putting the Shah back on the throne, there is deep suspicion about what American intentions are. And I think the president has actually taken a very wise stand, very cautious, letting it play out at home and not allowing what is a domestic crisis to become redefined as one between the United States and the Islamic Republic, which would be, I think, very dangerous and would make those putting their lives on the line in the streets even more vulnerable, because then the regime can pick them up and charge them with being agents or spies or whatever of the United States.
Jamie, what would be the consequence? Again, Madeleine Albright, Secretary of State, was the first to acknowledge and practically apologize, but not quite, for the '53 coup that got rid of the elected or referendumed Mossadegh Prime Minister. What would be the consequence for the U.S. today if the president followed Congressman Royce's advice?
Well, I think, number one, the congressman has made a judgment that there's nothing to negotiate with Iran. There's no engagement that can serve any purpose. I think the president has made a different judgment, and it's a judgment that he made very clear to the American people before the election, that he was going to pursue the nuclear engagement with Iran, and he was elected on that basis when that was a big issue. So I think the public has given him the benefit of the doubt.
Isn't it more difficult now with this contested election?
It's absolutely more difficult. But I think, secondly, if one standard we used to have was don't be holier than the Pope, whether it's Aung San Suu Kyi in Burma or dissidents in Eastern Europe. The Iranian people who are leading these demonstrations are not calling for the United States to do more. And today, President Obama stated very clearly that human rights must be respected and the world is watching. But I think this idea that the Iranian leaders of the revolution, or whatever it's going to be there, the opposition, are calling for the president to engage the way they were in those other cases that the congressman mentioned, just isn't true. We need to learn to look at specific countries with their own context and not have a uniform solution to every problem. Iraq taught us that.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time. I just want to quickly ask Jim Sciutto, what impression did you get of the Iranians during the election in terms of what they were looking for from the U.S., if anything?
Well, I think this is an important point. Opposition groups, I've been talking to them for a number of years, they're very sensitive to explicit expressions of American support, because they know that that makes it very easy for the Iranian government to portray them as tools of Western powers. And that's a line that the Iranian government has been pursuing this week, trying to portray these protests as being influenced from outside, being influenced by the Western media. So it's something that we have to be very conscious of. And certainly this week, a number of opposition leaders have told me the same thing. They're still concerned about that association.
Congressman, Robin, Jim and Jamie, thank you very much indeed for joining us. And next, the Iranian expat community, their point of view after the break.